Thank you. Before I begin, I also acknowledge that I stand here on unceded Aboriginal land and pay my respects to elders past and present. I'm an editor and a writer who has been working with words for 35 years. But over the last 18 months, as I have watched Israel's genocide of Gaza, its accelerated ethnic cleansing in the West Bank, and its bombing of Lebanon and Syria, I have never been more attuned to the power and the inadequacy of words. I have seen how words have been weaponized against people who speak up for justice and human rights. People across the spectrum of our community victimized for telling the truth. I have seen how conflation of criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism has been weaponized for political ends in service of a genocide, so that those who speak out are punished and others who witness these acts of reprisal learn to self-censor. I have seen how words have been crafted by Universities-Australia in a new definition of anti-Semitism that is designed to stop academics, students, and other university staff from criticising Israel. Universities were once bastions of free speech and fearless debate and are now apologists for an ethno-supremacist apartheid state. Their campuses have become sites of fear and repression. I have watched on social media words destroyed as Israeli forces have burnt libraries and obliterated schools and universities. I have watched Palestinians burning their own precious books because they are the only source of fuel left. I have listened to the words of Palestinian children who in November 2023 held a press conference in English, not their first language, pleading with the world for help. I have watched as their words disappeared into a vacuum. I have seen the use of weasel words from our government and other politicians who will not condemn Israel's war crimes, nor uphold international law by adhering to the rulings of the ICC and the ICJ. In failing to take appropriate action, our government, in collusion with other governments around the world, has allowed Israel to act with impunity. Their silence has created a new world, one in which it is acceptable to brazenly kill tens of thousands of children, to bomb hospitals, schools, universities, places of worship, bakeries, cemeteries, and playgrounds. A world in which it is acceptable to slaughter journalists for reporting the truth and to execute doctors, nurses, and paramedics. I have seen how Israel repeatedly uses the same words to justify the unjustifiable. Words like self-defense and hostages, to name two. I have heard the world parrot these words so that Israel can continue its systematic annihilation of an entire people and to use collective punishment and starvation as a weapon of war, which the world collectively agreed to ban in 1949. I have heard words that were once unsaid being said out loud. Israel and the United States are telling us that they are ethnically cleansing Gaza and that they are annexing the entire West Bank. America now openly owns Israel's actions as its foreign policy. The quiet part, once unsaid, is now being said so often and so loudly that it is deafening. I have seen how mainstream media manipulates words to collude with those carrying out and funding genocide. Through censorship, the use of passive language and framing, I have seen how they use words to reinforce double standards, how they weaponize anti-Palestinian, anti-Muslim and anti-Arab propaganda to feed the outcome that they do not name, racism. Yet they remain shamelessly silent about the 210 journalists in Gaza who have been hunted down and killed for doing their job. I have been made aware of the inadequacy of words and their inability to describe the hellscape that is Gaza after 550 days of genocide. I can't count the number of times I have heard the sentence, "I don't know what to say anymore." I could quote to you the official number of people killed in Gaza, but the true terrifying number is not known because the systems for collecting that information have been destroyed. I can tell you that at least 20,000 children have been murdered. I can tell you that 40,000 children have had one or both of their parents killed. I can tell you that 6,000 children have had one or more limbs amputated, many without anaesthetic. But I can't describe to you the richness and complexity that was encapsulated in each life that Israel has taken. I cannot describe to you the life that would have been had it not been extinguished by a 2,000-pound bomb while it lay sleeping in a tent, let alone every life in every tent next to it. I cannot describe what the future will be like for a child who has been labelled with the acronym WCNSF, Wounded Child, No Surviving Family. In spite of all the damage that words or their absence have done, I have also seen how successful words have been in educating people and in opening hearts and minds to the truth about Palestine. Words spread along the grassroots, a flicker of hope as more and more people listen, talk, do not flinch away, make the effort to understand the occupation and what is really going on in the Middle East. I have heard many times people say, "But what can I do? I'm only one person." But look around. We are many. Our words have power only when we use them. If you feel afraid of what will happen if you speak out, then think instead of what will happen if you do not. The powerful cannot take our voices away, but they do not need to if we are silent. I leave you with the words of someone who has become very dear to me, Muhammad, a 25-year-old Palestinian from Gaza who is still alive but has been robbed of his life. He said this on Friday, "I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here because my city is burning and silence feels like betrayal. This page is not a diary, it's a battlefield, and my words are my last weapon. From a tent in Gaza, I write what I see, the hunger, the dust, the fear, the stubborn hope. Free Palestine from the river to the sea."
From the river to the sea.
This is Belmore Park, just arriving now. It's Palm Sunday protest, but I think it's more about refugees.
Here for treatment,
So we'll
but
keep
now
sneaking
living with the disastrous,
fence here,
precarious
to a better
conditions
spot.
of being on a bridging visa, which would make anyone sicker. And it also means dismantling the racist infrastructure of boat turnbacks and offshore detention. There are currently 94 people being held on Nauru and 39 stuck in Papua New Guinea with no support, and we say bring them here. And we call on the government to lift the ban on refugees coming from Indonesia, which is like 14,000 people stranded there. We say bring them here too.
Bring them here.
And we also are here in the peace tradition of the Palm Sunday rally to take a stand against AUKUS, against the military build-up that Australia's engaged in. Under AUKUS, we're seeing US B-52 bombers based in the Northern Territory as Australia supports US preparations for a war on China. And we say no to that war.
No to the war.
And we will see $368 billion spent on nuclear submarines. when if you go around the crowd here today or if you walk into Central Station, every single person there could tell you a better use of that money, whether it's, you know, fighting the cost of living pressures or transforming the energy system to help curb the impending climate disaster. I also want to give a shout out today to those marching with us today from the Palestine Action Group, who've combined our causes today, because our fight against war and that military spending and against the racist border policies that are imposed on refugees, that goes hand in hand with the fight for the Palestinian people, to stop the genocide in Palestine and for liberation. And I think that message is especially important this week after we've seen confirmation that there are Australian-made weapons being sent and being tested by Israel, despite Albanese's assurances to the contrary. Yes, shame. So just a little bit of housekeeping to start us off. There's some toilets in Central Station if you need it, and we've got buckets going around the crowd today. We do need donations to make these rallies happen, so please keep an eye out for those and donate generously. And we're going to have 6 speakers, and then we're going to march to Victoria Park behind the Palm Sunday banner. So to start us off, I'll hand over to our first speaker, Reverend Rod Benson. Reverend Rod Benson is a Uniting Church minister and General Secretary of the New South Wales Ecumenical Council. Please welcome him.
Yay!
Thank you very much. Friends, today we gather as people of faith and people of conscience. It's really great to see the palms here. Bring them on next year. On Palm Sunday, Christians remember the time when Jesus of Nazareth entered Jerusalem, not on a war horse, but on a donkey. Not with bullets and bombs, but with open hands of mercy and hands of love and hands of solidarity with others. The crowd that day was not looking for violence. They were spreading palm branches and their clothing to welcome him. They cried, "Hosanna, Hosanna, save us." And so do we. Save us from what, I hear you say? Save us from the politics of fear. Save us from the meaninglessness of war in every place. Save us from turning our backs on those who suffer. Save us from the silence that allows injustice to triumph. Save us from lies and hatred. Save us from fear and greed. Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace, embodied peace in the face of a powerful empire. He challenged systems that crush the poor and exile the stranger, strangers whom we stand today in solidarity with. Jesus broke bread with ordinary people, with the disabled, with the forgotten. The road to Jerusalem for Jesus was a road to suffering and to death. It was also a road to justice and a lasting peace for humankind. But today, too many of us still walk that road of suffering. In Gaza, in Ukraine, in Sri Lanka, and in many other places, children are dying beneath the rubble. Children are dying under the bullets. Families weep amid the destruction caused by Israeli and Russian bombs. Holy Scripture tells us that every person in the world bears the image of God. War erodes that precious humanity that each one of us shares with everyone else. How can we remain silent when sacred lives are shattered? Here in Australia, we see our own moral failures to love one another every day. Refugees are locked away, indefinitely detained, their rights denied, people just like you and just like me, seeking the safety and dignity and hope that we all long for. Today, as we've already heard, there are about 100 asylum seekers still locked up on Nauru, administered by a private US prison company and paid for by our taxes. And there are something like 10,000 more here on this continent of Australia. We who worship a refugee child born in the West Bank in Bethlehem must do better. Jesus said, "I was a stranger and you welcomed me." We must raise our voices together. We must raise our voices louder and demand change from our government. This is not just a political issue, it is a moral crisis for the Australian people. So let us speak out today, not in fear, but in hope. Let us demand peace for Gaza. Let us demand justice for refugees. Let us demand compassion over cruelty. Let us demand humanity over hatred. Let us demand love over fear. And as you and I walk this road of peace together, as Christians, Muslims, Jewish people, people of all faiths and none, may we all remember that the arc of the good news of Jesus Christ bends toward liberation. That the kingdom Jesus imagined in his time for all of us was one of justice rolling down like waters and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Jesus did not enter the city of Jerusalem with an army. He entered in humility, with truth, with courage, with love strong enough to confront power. Jesus calls us to follow him. We march with palms today and banners today to remember the past and to stand in solidarity with those who suffer. And we also march today to proclaim that real change is possible and to work for that change. Yes, another world is possible. It starts today. It starts with you and me. It starts now. Thank you.
I said today that our message is educate for peace, and our next speaker is someone who came here when he was 7 years old and is now unable to continue to pursue that education because of visa restrictions. You know, he's finished his HSC and because of this unfair visa system, he can't go to uni. So we're here demanding permanent visas for refugees, just like Abishek. So I welcome Abishek Selvakumar to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I begin my speech, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we're on today. I pay my respect to the elders past and present and recognize their unbroken connection to land, water and culture. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. My name is Abishek Selvakumar. I fled genocidal Sri Lanka at the age of 7 with my mother. We came to Australia seeking for safety, hoping to find peace and a chance to rebuild our lives. I stand before you today not just as a refugee, but more than that, I stand as someone whose life has been shaped by silence and uncertainty and delay. While Australia gives us a place to arrive, it has never truly allowed us to live. I'm speaking not just for myself, but for the thousands of refugees still living in limbo. For many years, many of us have been stuck without the right to work, to study, or access the most basic services like healthcare. When you're denied the chance to build a future, every day becomes a struggle. The system is designed to keep us waiting. It isolates us. It pushes us into the shadows. Being denied work rights doesn't just limit our abilities to support ourselves, it robs us of purpose. Having the right to work would open up a possibility, not just for me, but for every refugee in this country caught in the same situation. It would mean a chance to chase our career goals, to build financial security and to gain independence. With the ability to legally earn a living, I could support my family, plan a future and live with dignity. But it's more than just about money. Work is a doorway to connection, to community, to feeling like we're a part of this country, not just trapped in it. When we're allowed to contribute, Australia benefits too. We bring skills, passion, resilience, and we want to give back. But instead, the system chooses to keep us out. When we arrived, we thought we had reached safety. But instead of being welcomed, we've been forced to navigate policies that are deeply unfair and painfully slow. Refugees are still being denied Medicare, work rights, and study access. We are made to feel like a burden, when all we want is a chance to build our life. Our legal cases are stuck in broken systems. The fast track process, a crucial system, offers little chance of justice. It prevents us from submitting vital evidence that could prove why we can never return to our homelands. It's heartbreaking to watch the government rely on outdated reports that misrepresent dangerous countries as safe in order to justify deportation. And worse, this country continues to work with the very regimes responsible for the violence we fled. The damage is deep and ongoing. The policies don't just delay our lives, they dismantle them. They strip us of our agency, our sense of worth, and our future. And I won't lie, I'm scared. I live in fear of being deported back to the danger, in my case, in the hands of the Sri Lankan genocidal state. So do many others. That fear shapes every choice we make. It never goes away. The Labour government made promises of change, fairness, and reform. But those promises remain unfulfilled. While some people have been granted visas, thousands of us are still being stuck, still waiting, still watching our lives pass by. We are not invisible, we are here, and we are still hoping. Because we want what every human being wants, to live with dignity, to be safe, and to build a future. We are not asking for special treatment, we are asking for fairness. We want to study, to work, to pay taxes, to contribute, to belong. We are ready, we've always been ready. I speak today not just for myself, but for all the refugees who feel voiceless. For every young person who graduated from school only to find out locked doors. And every parent who worries every night about what will happen to their children. Let this be the movement we stop turning away. Let this be the moment where demand real permanent protection, not band-aids, not promises, but lasting meaningful change. Let's build refugee policy rooted in compassion and justice, a system that lifts people instead of holding them down. Thank you.
So much, Abishek. I wanted to just do a couple of chants before we go into the next speaker. So, money for health and education, not for war and deportations. Money for health and education. Money for health and education.
Not for war and deportation.
And free the refugees.
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 Okay, thank you, and we'll hear from our next speaker. So, Dr. Ruth Mitchell is a neurosurgeon and a cancer researcher based in Sydney. She's chair of the board of directors of the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War and has been an active member of the Medical Association of the Prevention of War since 2004. And she's a former co-chair of the board of ICAN Australia and the International Campaign for the Prevention of Nuclear War. I hand over to Dr. Ruth.
Thank you, Matilda. Good afternoon. It is an honour to be here with you on unceded, sovereign Aboriginal land. On a day when we commemorate Jesus riding into Jerusalem on a donkey, our government is pushing full steam ahead with a ruinous plan to bring nuclear-fueled danger into our ports and harbours. So I'm going to talk about submarines as we acknowledge and celebrate my favourite revolutionary Palestinian Jew. We have already heard about what happens when we disregard the outsider. And as we come together, we wonder, what kind of community do we want to be here on this unceded land? As you may be aware, the Australian government has committed to a trilateral security partnership with the United Kingdom and the United States called AUKUS. Shame. The most egregious and expensive part of this, it's Pillar 1, involves the purchase of nuclear-powered attack submarines, costing us eye-watering hundreds of billions of dollars. Now, it turns out these submarines might never be built, and in the meantime, we are agreeing to a rotational basing of UK and US nuclear-powered submarines in our ports and our harbours. $375 billion and rising is the price point for AUKUS. Withdrawing from AUKUS would save at least $73 billion over the next 10 years. I'm sure you can all think about where you'd put that money. At a time when we desperately need independent foreign policy based on a welcome for refugees, respect for human rights, dedication to international humanitarian law, and an unswerving commitment to being nuclear-free in every way, AUKUS is a step backwards, a step into the darkness. At the time of rising costs for basic essentials, a housing crisis, and in the context of the first strike of salaried medical officers in this state since the 90s, not only do governments have better things to spend our collective resources on than nuclear submarines, I believe that spending almost $1 billion already on this terrible deal is insulting to everyday people living in Australia just trying to get by. On the same day that our Prime Minister added $6 billion to the forward estimates of how much this was going to cost all of us, you and me, members of the Trump administration leaked war plans to bomb Houthi targets in Yemen to a journalist in a Signal message group. Can someone tell me why we are deepening our relationship with so-called partner, which is so unhinged, erratic, and unprofessional in its way of engagement, and so unapologetically evil in its military targeting? Neither the style nor the substance of US military engagement is appropriate for us to engage with. Nuclear-fueled submarines weaken the taboo around nuclear weapons and create the need for highly enriched uranium, to say nothing of the nuclear waste created. Australia has yet to sign and ratify the treaty for the prohibition of nuclear weapons, to our great shame. Whose interests are served by spending billions of dollars of public funding on nuclear submarines made somewhere else? Fundamentally, those who stand to benefit are those who make weapons and the entire complex that supports them. Over the past 18 months, we have seen the attempted erasure of humanity in Gaza by Israel, with direct funding and weapons and parts of weapons, not only from the US, the UK, Germany, and others, but definitely, most assuredly, from Australia as well. Shame. Billions of dollars spent, thousands of lives taken, hospitals destroyed, and both health professionals and journalists directly targeted. We call for healthcare, not warfare, across the board. In this time of toxic uncertainty, thank you. In this time of toxic uncertainty, there is a better way forward for Australia, one which acknowledges the nuclear racism of the past and present, the British nuclear tests in the South Australian desert, the ongoing struggle against nuclear waste dumps on unceded, sovereign Aboriginal land, and now this harebrained idea that somehow we, living on the driest continent, might benefit from nuclear power, which famously needs lots of water. As we come together, let me suggest we build our own pillars for the future, starting with a commitment to an independent foreign policy on the side of humanity. We must sign and ratify the treaty for the prohibition of nuclear weapons urgently. And I believe we must withdraw from AUKUS. And what will this do? It will free up community resources for what is most important, our collective well-being and that of our planet. We say no to AUKUS. We say no to nuclear weapons, yes to refugees, and on this holy day of Palm Sunday, my heart is with the Christians under siege in Gaza, those fighting for their existence in the West Bank, today and every day. Free Palestine. Thank you.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Welfare, not warfare!
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 Thank you, everyone. Thanks. I'm going to hand over to our next speaker. So Ms. Sara Haddad is a Lebanese-Australian writer who lives and works on Gadigal land. She's the author of The Sunbird, and she hopes that one day all Palestinians will be free to return to their homeland and live freely without fear. Please welcome Sara.
Thank you, Sara. And I think it's worth mentioning that, you know, we stand here today on the eve of an election, and a lot of us are feeling pretty fed up with a government that has used weasel words to justify, you know, continuing to not sanction Israel as it commits a genocide. Shame. And for continuing, we know that Australia continues to be part of the supply chain for those weapons. But we also are looking at an election where we've got Dutton promising to be much worse and increase that military spending and increase the racism. And I think when you look at that, we've got to actually say, what's the solution? Look around right now. This is the solution. The solidarity of these communities, you know, people of so many different faiths and so many different backgrounds that stand here today. It's this movement and this solidarity that will break the chains, that will get Australia to sanction Israel, and that will free the refugees. We've got two more. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free.
Thank you. I'll hand over to our speaker, Jasmine Al-Rawi, who's a member of Palestine Action Group Sydney. She's the Education Officer at University of Sydney SRC and is the convener for Students for Palestine at Sydney. Great to have you, Jasmine.
My name is Jasmine. I'm an activist with the Palestine Action Group and Students for Palestine. The news that Mahmoud Khalil has been, the court ruling has ruled that he can be deported from the United States for his political beliefs shows that the arms of the state does not only oppress and threaten to deport refugees seeking safety, but also threatens to deport activists fighting against genocide and war. Shame. Mahmoud Khalil was the test case, but also has the treatment of refugees always been a case of how much repression our government is able to get away with. The fact that refugees are locked up with no trial, with no charge other than being a refugee seeking safety, and then they get sent to immigration detention on no charge. Shame. Currently, Trump's treatment of deporting immigrants to El Salvador, being chained, tortured, and separated from their families. The introduction of offshore detention is nothing new. This is something that Australia has pioneered. The Australian government has perfected the deportation and torture and stripping away of rights of refugees. There is something our government has to answer for why every fascist government, every far-right government sees the way that we treat refugees as a blueprint. Both the Liberal and Labour Party have been complicit and co-architects in the terrible treatment of refugees here. As Palestinian people are one of the largest refugee populations in the world, it shows how the fights for refugees and Palestine are connected. Palestine has shown that there is no limit to the brutality that the world is willing to endure. Our government will support and actively aid Israel, and if people have seen the revelation that Australia sends weapons to Israel that are manufactured here, yet our government, Albanese, has the gall to lie to the public about this revelation. Shame. They have actively aided the destruction of Gaza, the murdering of tens of thousands of Palestinians, ethnic cleansing of Palestine, Australia has no small role in that. And in typical fashion, our government has denied over 2,000 Palestinian visas to seek refuge in Australia. Shame. Every single refugee deserves to live a life of safety, but as long as a world where Israel, the United States, and Australia continue to commit violence against people, we must continue to fight for the right to safety. That force people to flee, in particular the Palestinians now fleeing cleanse the entirety of Gaza. Shame. He has seen it as nothing but a real estate opportunity and has fostered the lie that oppressed people choose not to leave, choose to stay in their oppression. So we're fighting to end all of that. So long as these sick monsters run the world, as long as Israel gets the backing from the most powerful military powers in the world, there will be no peace. The unfair treatment of refugees, I think, bears similarities to the unfair, abusive, torturous treatment of Palestinian prisoners, where they are kept for decades without charge. Shame. And there's always been a precedent of stripping away these rights by the treatment of refugees. Seeing Ahmed Mansoura released from Israeli detention after being locked up as a child and tortured is just the extreme end of how our government treats refugee children. Having their entire childhood taken from them, they've always treated our refugee children in this way. No child should be put in prison, not in Palestine, not in Australia, and not in the United States. But what scares our rulers is our protest movement, in which they are trying to repress. We have to keep fighting, touch one, touch all. We've always been fighting for the right for Palestinian refugees to return, and our struggle has not ended with the ceasefire that has been broken time and time again. Our government cannot continue to get away with abusing, with their human rights abuses, and with sending weapons to Israel. So Students for Palestine and the Palestine Action Group is organizing a rally in front of the leaders' debate this Wednesday. Both parties have a lot to answer to. They cannot get away with supporting Israel. They cannot get away with lying about sending arms to Israel. So you should be at that protest this Wednesday at Parramatta Square, where both Albo and Peter Dutton will be there debating as if they have not done anything wrong, and as if they're not ignoring the key question in the world right now, which is the atrocious genocide being committed in Gaza. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Gaza!
Free, free Gaza!
Free, free Gaza!
Free, free Gaza!
Thank you so much, Jasmine. Just one final shout out about those buckets that are going around from the Palm Sunday Committee. If people could donate, there is a QR code on it, and that money will go towards helping us, continue the work of this political organising and these rallies. So, and also, if you want to get involved, Refugee Action Coalition, we meet every 2 weeks. We're totally open to anyone to come along to those meetings and join us and get involved in whatever way you can. So I'll hand over to our last speaker, who's Ms. Natasha Watt, who was elected as the Senior Vice President of the New South Wales Teachers Federation in 2024 after a career of educational leadership and activism both in New South Wales and internationally. She started out as a mathematics classroom teacher in southwest Sydney, and she's also worked as a head teacher and deputy principal in schools in the Illawarra and in the UK. And before she was Senior Vice President of the Teachers Federation, she was working in a non-school based teaching position with the Education Department. leading the development rollout of a professional learning program for teachers across New South Wales, and she's a member of the South Coast Labour Council. So I'll hand over to Natasha Watt.
Oh God, that's so hard to follow. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're on Aboriginal land and any Aboriginal people here today, land that was never ceded. I'd also like to acknowledge the New South Wales Teachers Federation, in particular Henry Regenda, our President, who is here today with his family, our General Secretary Maxine Sharkey, who is here with TAFE comrades. There's a whole lot of New South Wales Teachers Federation officers here and members in different groupings as well as part of the Federation family here today. I'm also going to acknowledge my dad. He's here he's a life member of the Federation, and he used to bring me to these rallies as a child, so it's a real privilege to be here as a grown-up doing this. So the Teachers Federation covers members, teachers who work in preschools that are attached to primary schools, public primary schools. It covers primary school teachers in the public system, it covers secondary school teachers in the public system, and it covers TAFE teachers as well in New South Wales. The public education system in New South Wales is special. It has about 800,000 students in it. It's the largest single education system in the Southern Hemisphere and one of the largest in the OECD. There are 2,216 schools in our system. 1/3 of our students have English as an additional language. Just about every student who is a refugee is in the public education system. 80% of students with disability are in the public education system. Just about every child who comes from a family that is poor is in the public education system. And we also have students in the public education system who come from wealthy families as well. About 84% of young people outside of Sydney in regional, rural and remote New South Wales come into the public education system. We're very proud of our system. Everybody's included, and it's a place for everybody to be nurtured. Educating for peace in 2025 means many things. What we've heard about this morning, or this afternoon, pardon, is about the end of violence, the end of war. And in the New South Wales Teachers Federation, we say all wars are fought against children. And devastatingly, we have to add to that today, all genocides are committed against children also. 122 million girls are out of education across the globe. Unusually, these days, 128 million boys, more boys than girls, are also outside of education across the globe these days. That is the impact of war and genocide, and it's also the impact of poverty. When young people cannot afford to go to school because their government may have privatised their education system and relinquished control of it and given it away to charter school movements and academies and other people who run car companies to run schools, which happens in developed countries across the globe. They can't keep track of children in education when they sell off their systems. I want to talk about something called positive peace. What positive peace is working to address underlying social issues. And it's one of the things the Federation is very keen on at the moment, and certainly for the next 3 weeks. One unjust thing that's happening in our country that you may have heard about is schools funding. The New South Wales public education system has a needs-based funding model, and it attracts money so that we can support students with all their needs, and I have described that and the complexity of that already. We are under-resourced. We're not at 100% of the schooling resource standard yet, and we're in a campaign for our lives to get to 100% of the schooling resource standard. This is one way we articulate our activities around positive peace. Free TAFE. Our TAFE system over the last decade of the coalition, federally and in the state, was decimated. They sold off TAFE. It used to be a free place to get education, heavily subsidised courses, and entitlement to every single community. They screwed that up and they made TAFE compete. It lost teachers, it lost students, and it downgraded the qualifications of what people were doing in TAFE. Well, that's about to change because we've won lots in TAFE, and in this federal election, we're fighting to bring it back. Some parties have promised free TAFE for our state. One way to build positive peace for young people in New South Wales is to have free TAFE courses for them to do so they can get qualified at things and go and make a contribution to our society. So fighting for TAFE is an important thing in this election. But I want to come back to schools funding for a moment. Before Tony Abbott was elected, he promised that he would fund public schools like the Gillard government had. He promised he would match dollar for dollar. But what he actually did when he got into government was cut $30 billion out of our public schooling systems across Australia. That was one of the first things he did. Come along Malcolm Turnbull. Malcolm Turnbull, he wanted to adjust the tax system, and what he wanted to do was withdraw federal funding out of public education across Australia. Withdraw all funding out of our systems across Australia. That's what the nice one, Malcolm Turnbull, wanted to do. He did not get away with that, and he changed that. Scott Morrison comes along. Scott Morrison cut $20 billion out of the public system when he was the Prime Minister of this country. That's $50 billion under the coalition over a decade. And you wonder why in public education we only have 1 in every 10 kids unfunded. It's because of those people that did that to our system. When we are fully funded, what we can afford to do is we can have English additional language teachers conducting small classes with students who need to learn English in order to access the curriculum. We can have special programs for students who have a disability to support them so that their learning outcomes are not substandard, but we can help kids with disabilities get equality and excellence in their learning outcome alongside other kids. We can help kids who are disadvantaged and have been struggling to eat, coming into school with very few experiences that help them educationally. We can put programs together for those kids like free public preschooling, co-located on every primary school site, for example. Wouldn't that be nice to have so that our kids have a chance to have equality and excellence in their education outcomes? So the public system at the moment is struggling because it's not fully funded, and we are fighting for that in this election so that we can do all the things around building positive peace around the community in New South Wales. The other thing I want to talk about is the cost of living. When we fund our public systems, we are taking the money that our tax contributions allow us to have programs that sorry, I've had a blank. But our tax contributions, what that allows us to have is the proper systems in place so that people do not have to pay for it. We should not have to be paying for what the public already pays for through its taxes. The other thing I do want to mention before I wrap up is the idea that teachers indoctrinate young people, and I want to dig into that for a moment. We're a bit upset by the idea that Peter Dutton and his cronies think that what teachers do is indoctrinate young people. Have you heard them say that in the media? I want to read you something from the syllabuses. What we teach our kids in Australia is second to none. We have very rigorous courses that are very intelligent. And what they do is they allow young people to think deeply. Peter Dutton thinks that what we do in public education is teach kids what to think. And he criticises us that what we should be doing is teaching kids how to think. What I think Peter Dutton wants is no thinking, because what they want to do is to get away with whatever they like. And what they want to do is to have, by controlling curriculum, which he's suggesting he would do if he got in, he wants to say on curriculum, I don't think I'd be employing a police officer, ex-police officer, to be having a say in curriculum, would you? In our legal studies outcomes, one of the most beautiful things that kids learn about in New South Wales right here is this. Explain the role of law in encouraging cooperation and resolving conflict. There's peace in education for you, as well as initiating and responding to change. What a great thing for our young people to learn how to resolve conflict through the curriculum that was designed by teachers, academics, and a lot of different people consulted and agreed upon, so culturally agreed upon. That is what we should be doing with our curriculum. He criticises preschool teachers for indoctrinating kids before they get to kindergarten. I'll read you something from the early years framework. The learning outcomes in our country for kids before they get to 5 years old are that Children have a strong sense of identity. Tick, that is a good thing. Sorry for the ticks, the teacher thing. Second one, children are connected with and contribute to their world. Also a very good thing. Children have a strong sense of well-being. What an excellent thing to have. Children are confident and involved learners. Also brilliant. Children are effective communicators. We want this for our kids, and in learning in relation to the learning outcomes for little people should be based on what they bring into our preschool. So I am taking Peter Dutton's cronies' criticisms of preschooling as his desire to indoctrinate our youngest, because it says this, it says learning in relation to the learning outcomes is influenced by each child's context, including previous experiences, culture, languages spoken, capabilities, emotional well-being, dispositions and learning preferences. That is peace building. He does not want a peaceful community here in Australia. So we don't like Peter Dutton in the New South Wales Teachers Federation, and we ask you to consider for vote for public education in a coming election.
Thanks, Natasha. And it's so great to see so many teachers and people holding teachers' flags today. You know, the last year and a half of a genocide, I think it's no coincidence actually that teachers have been on the front line of dealing with kids' questions about what's going on around the world, about the fact that they've got family, you know, being killed in Palestine. And the teachers are the ones that have had to speak to that issue in the classroom, and teachers have spoken the truth about that genocide and they've been punished for it. So all our solidarity with those teachers. And similarly with refugees, it is the teachers that are dealing with the kids in the classroom that say, actually, my friend can't go to uni with me because my friend, you know, doesn't have a permanent visa and I do. And what does that say about this country? So yeah, thanks, solidarity to the teachers. And you know, I think it's important that this movement stands in the tradition of the union movement actually, and says that the interests of working people are not furthered by racism and division. And actually, you know, the scapegoating that we've seen around housing, around the cost of living, it does not help one bit with people's plight to live freely and to be able to afford everything from, you know, school to groceries. We're going to form up behind the Palm Sunday banner now. You'll see people are just walking it up to the front. And we'll do a couple of chants as we go out. So, money for health and education, not for war and deportations. Health and education, not for war and deportations. Not for war and deportations.
Money for health and education.
And we're going to bring the Palestine banner up just behind the Palm Sunday banner, so we'll march together, and then if everyone can form up behind that. So I think there's one, yeah, there's a Palestine flag that we can bring up, yeah.
When refugees are under attack, what do we do?
When refugees are under attack, what do we do?
Get up, fight back!
When Palestine is under attack, what do we do?
Get up, fight back!
When Palestine is under attack, what do we do?
Get up, fight back!
When Palestine is under attack, what do we do?
Get up, fight back!
When refugees are under attack, what do we do?
Get up, fight back!
What do we do?
Get up, fight back!
What do we do?
Get up, fight back!
A band as well. Alright, the march is starting. The cops are forming up in their cordon. Apparently it's going to go from here, which is Belmore Park, to Victoria Park. So it's pretty much all the way up Broadway. Liz Atkins trumpet as well.
Genocide!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
I say 14 years, you say enough. 14 years!
Enough!
14 years!
Enough!
14 years!
Refugees are welcome here. 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 Refugees are welcome here.
Here we go. It's gonna be in the chest soon. Soon, watch.
Visa!